Alright then, alright. What makes you tick? Passion. The word passion originally comes from the Latin pati, which means to suffer. You read that right. So before you go out there and follow your passion, which to be honest is shitty advice, really think about what this means. What is it that drives you? Think about your center, your values, that lights you up so much that you can't not do it. What is it that is painful not to do? What is it that you are willing to suffer for, i.e. to work for, even when it's hard, to sacrifice that all-important resource, your time, for? Because when you say yes to something, you are saying no to something or many somethings else. FOMO is real, y'all. Also, it's important to note that no one said a passion has to be something you turn into a career, or that you can't be passionate about something you just aren't any good at, like me in video games. What gets you super excited in a hell yes kind of way, even if it's something you are afraid to cultivate? For me, it's storytelling. I really want to make my comic and make stories, write books, maybe some games, I don't know. T.K. Coleman had said in a minimalist podcast about passion, I'm not going to be able to remember it verbatim, but in the same vein of what are you willing to suffer for? It's like, what are you willing to do even if it gets you nothing? Even if you get no money from it, no fame, no fortune, no glory, no attention. What is it that you still love so much that you would sacrifice everything for in order to continue doing this thing? If you've been holding back from doing something you love out of fear, it may be strangely comforting to know that in 1,000 years, everyone you could possibly know in your lifetime that would come to hate you will be as dead as you, and we will all be long forgotten, including that shitty first novel you wrote. So really, the sky's the limit here. What is it about this thing that scares you so much? Why have you been holding back? I admittedly have one project standing between me and really starting on my comic. And this was the first project. The second project I'll be working on this year. Yeah, I'm scared of putting myself out there. Because what if people hate it? Or what if people just totally ignore it? You know, that's just sad. That would make me sad. Would it be worse if people just totally ignored it over hating it? I don't know. Okay, what's the price that you are paying by remaining stuck in your comfort zone and not even trying to work on these things that your soul is yearning for? So what am I getting out of it? What am I getting out of not putting my work out there? I don't have to spend so much time working on this thing to have little to no return on it. So, because like making a comic or like a webtoon or a web comic or whatever, that is such a time investment that I don't think people even realize. And to put all of that work and energy and so much of yourself into something and to have people just like scroll past, like, that is heartbreaking. Like, I'm not saying that I think it's going to be a waste of time, but I guess I'm afraid that it will just become like a drain. Like, I just want to reach people. I just want to connect with people through my work. And, it's not even doing that. Okay, on the flip side, what could your life be like if you embraced your fear and moved out of your comfort zone to work on what's important to you? This is your dream space. There are no limitations here. How do you want to live your life? How do you want to feel on a regular basis? I want to feel like I am in flow and creative and open and excited about my characters and my story. That's how I want to feel. I want to feel excited about my work. Because when I'm excited about my work, then I feel like other people are excited. And maybe it's not the work, but it's just my excitement that's exciting. I don't know. Time. Most people get about 4,000 weeks of life and then they die. Some people get less and some people get more, but on average, it's roughly 4,000 weeks. That's about 76 years old. I'll let you do your own math. Of all our resources, time is our most precious because, try as we might, we can't get a second of it back. So how are you spending your limited time? You can mentally go through your average day and hold it in your mind, or you can physically write it down over a day if you're feeling ambitious. So I will tell you right now that I am spending too much time lost on the internet and just wasting time browsing online shopping things and just stupid. I'm scrolling Google Discover on my phone, not reading articles, but browsing headlines, like just scrolling headlines. Like this is the new scrolling now. Please stop. At least, read an article to get informed instead of talking to my husband about, hey, did you hear about this headline? I didn't read the article, but stop it. Does how you're spending your time align with what you said are your values? I feel like that's a little bit rough because curiosity is one of my values, and sometimes that's a bit of a double-edged sword because my curiosity can, take me down rabbit holes that serve no purpose except for, but I want to know. Like, there's no reason that I should be going on some kind of deep wiki dive on characters from a certain video game, like maybe, I don't know. So I feel like I have to watch my curiosity so that it does not become a fixation. I think I can fixate on things, and that's when it becomes unhealthy and not productive, or even fuck productivity, like not helpful. It could be, harmful even if I, stumble upon something that I am interested in buying and I'm, trying to be good about that. Most of us, myself not included, because I own a business at home. This made a farty noise on my hand. Most of us work 9-to-5 jobs and really aren't in the position to own our time fully when we're on the clock for someone else, and that's okay. We all need to pay the bills. But be honest now, how much time off the clock do you spend doing mindless potato-y things like scrolling through social media on your phone or binge watching Netflix or YouTube, which certainly has its place in moderation, instead of doing something that really matters to you? So, just quick note here, aside, which certainly has its place in moderation. As someone who is easily burnt out, I totally understand the function of just being able to stare out the window or just mindlessly watch something because you have nothing left with which to focus your mental energy on. Like, I get it. So like I'm not trying to be like, y'all gotta hustle, because that's totally not what this is about. Like, I see you. If you need time to decompress, like, totally take it. And maybe think about going to sleep a little bit earlier instead of staying up late to watch the things that you're watching. I don't know. So yeah, I spend a few hours, probably, I don't know how many, browsing online when I could be sitting outside and watching the trees. Like, if I'm just going to be staring at things, why not make it more relaxing instead of, feeding into consumerist impulses? Maybe you're better at that than I am, but I'm terrible. How much of your potato time are you willing to sacrifice upon the altar of your dreams so that you can finally start moving toward the things that matter to you? Remember, passion equals to suffer. I'm not saying that you need to suffer in order to feel fulfilled, and whoever says that is selling some bullshit. What I'm saying here is that in order to focus on what actually matters to you, you will need to, as 𝖍𝖎𝖓𝖓 says, steal time from your own comfort. You will need to give up some things that are getting in the way of and distracting you from what you want to do in the big picture. What will you give up now in order to make time for what you value most in the long run? Pro tip: never steal comfort from sleep. Sleep is a biological necessity. So if you're not new here, if you've seen my videos before, you know that 2023 is going to be my maker's year, where I am not going to be buying anything. So it's a no spend year, because I've been a very naughty girl and I cannot do that anymore. So all of this time that I've been, browsing online, I will gain that time back. And I will have to be using it for something constructive and creative this year, because it is my maker's year and those are the rules. So yeah, shopping time. I'm sacrificing. And I'm going to draw a picture. Okay. This is me. This is me sacrificing, planning my shopping planner stuff, on the altar of my dreams. There you go. Hiya! Yes, there we go. Great. Draw pictures if you need to. Okay. Exhuming your true self from under all the bullshit. Because you are already that person. You've just been programmed with things that are not serving you and do not belong to you. So you can just put that shit down and remember who you really are. So we're going to talk about motivation for a hot minute. That thing that they swear comes after you actually start working on the thing and not before. Though there are many types of motivation, psychologically speaking, we're just going to concern ourselves with two types. Extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation comes from an external source and is usually controlled or given by others, like completing work tasks from your boss or doing homework for the students out there. Usually there is some kind of external consequence for completing or not completing these things, like you may get promoted or fired, or you may get a higher or lower grade in school. Meanwhile, intrinsic motivation comes from an internal source, you. And in order to fulfill your own personal needs, or just because it makes you happy or feel satisfied in some way, it's not something that you have to do or have to answer to anybody else for. Our motivation and our beliefs come from our alignment with our identity. According to James Clear in his book Atomic Habits, the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. So if you want to stop smoking, you don't say, I'm trying to quit smoking, because you're still identifying yourself as a smoker. Instead, you say, I'm not a smoker, as the key thing about non-smokers is that they don't smoke. He goes on to say, true behavior change is identity change. You might start a habit because of motivation, but the only reason you'll stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. Considering that identity determines belief, if you are to truly embody your core values / your center, what beliefs about yourself, others, and the world around you do you need to embrace? That I don't need to buy all of the things. Things will not complete me because I am already complete as I am. A complete mess. So I think on an editing note, I am going to drop shadow these or outline, because you start losing some of the letters, I think. So the version that's out now is this version. If you buy this, you're going to get this version. So any edits that I'm going to be making will be next year's version, the 2024 version, because I've made so many edits to this file. It's not even funny. I have everything I ever need. That should be like a new affirmation that I start saying. I have everything I'll ever need. Right here. Stop buying shit. What will you do and what will you not do? I will create and not consume. What habits will you gain in order to support yourself as you cast off your old stories and embrace your truth? Okie dokie. Habits. Check in with my body to assess my stress levels and try to figure out what need is being activated at times that I've been trying to fulfill with buying things. I will also go to meetings. I will ask others for help. What skills will you need to develop or hone? More budgeting. Budgeting, please. Budgeting skills. Nunchuck skills. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Not really sure what else. I'll come back to that. Meditating. I want to get back into that, please. Okay, rewrite your story. The story that has the most hold on your life is the one that you tell yourself every day. And human beings since the dawn of humanity have thrived on stories and symbols in order to make sense of themselves and their world. Getting James Clear to back me up again here, he says, when you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it's easy to slide into these mental grooves and accept them as a fact. In time, you begin to resist certain actions because that's not who I am. There's this internal pressure to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that is consistent with your beliefs. You find whatever way you can to avoid contradicting yourself. We all have these stories we tell ourselves on repeat. Can't keep your house clean? I'm so lazy. Can't find a rewarding relationship. I am unlovable. No one is buying your art. Everyone hates me and I'm the worst. You get the idea. Clear isn't wrong when he mentioned mental grooves. As it turns out, repeated actions, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors physically reinforce the neural pathways in our brains, like literal mental grooves. And that results in our brain finding these things much easier to do, and therefore much easier for us to default effortlessly into. And that's exactly what habits are. Our brains use about 20% of our total energy production daily, so they are constantly seeking optimization in order to conserve said energy. This can have both good and bad results. See, while our brains are remarkable, they are also the organ equivalent of the dude who figured out that he can play Wii Sports tennis while still laying on the couch and merely flicking his wrist just so instead of moving his body like he's playing real tennis, which was the original intention with Wii Sports. Sometimes those mental grooves become more like ruts we get stuck in, especially when we're talking about bad habits, negative beliefs, or negative self-talk. Since our stories are so intertwined with our identities, we resist even trying to change things because we simply don't believe it's even possible, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you decide that you're just not the kind of person who works out, your brain files that information under garbage and doesn't direct any energy to pursuing it, no matter how much you tell yourself you should work out or how unhappy you are with your health. Belief is everything. However, there is good news. We are constantly learning, adapting, and changing, physically changing our brains. This changeability is called neuroplasticity. Whenever we learn a new skill or perform a new action, new neural pathways form in our brains. Practice makes better, right? So through repetition, these neural pathways get stronger and stronger. On the flip side, when we cease repeating certain actions or beliefs, the neural pathways weaken, just like how I forgot to play the piano because I haven't practiced in about 25 years. Rewiring our brains is completely and realistically possible with dedicated effort, attention, and intention. But you need to show up and put in the work, and that's the hardest part. Think back now. What can you do today that you were not capable of 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago? Use this as evidence that you can change and eject your resistance. Like the Iron Giant, choose who you want to be. I mean, I can plan now. I can use planners. I have learned so much over the past 10 years. It's redonkulous. I've learned a lot about ADHD. I've learned a lot about, this kind of brain stuff. I mean, I've always liked science and whatnot, but I've definitely just educated myself a lot, and that's super interesting to me. What identities which you currently hold are actually holding you back from creating the life that you truly desire? In what ways are they holding you back? Okay, so this is where we go back to our thingies here, and that's why I was testing my highlighter, because I'm going to highlight the ones that are not serving me. Especially for this year, I want my finances to be top of mind. So we are going to say compulsive spender and compulsive debtor. I should also say planner addict, stationary addict. These are also going to be in there, but I don't want to highlight them because they're still going to smear. So what else is holding me back? I'm just going to scribble this out because I don't want people thinking that mother is holding me back. So I'm just going to rewrite it down here. Just so everyone's clear on that. Right, little chick? Yep, okay. Good job. Okay, just because our stories have previously served us in childhood does not mean that this is still the case in adulthood. What stories, beliefs, habits, people, and or things no longer align with your core values and who you actually are inside? I have the core belief because of past traumas that I've sustained in childhood that were basically reinforced throughout my life that I cannot trust myself, that any of the decisions that I make are going to be wrong, and that I need to either have constant reassurance or that I can only depend on external sources because the internal is not safe, basically. So that's something that I need to be working on, and yeah, there you go. That I can't trust myself and that I have to rely on external sources. And this, this also goes for not only decision making, but also to, make me happy, to make me feel okay, to soothe me. That's probably where the shopping comes in. How can you eject these from your life? Or if this is not possible in totality, at the very least, how can you set up firm boundaries between you and these things so that you are no longer wasting your precious time and energy on them? How does one build trust with yourself? How do you do that? Well, all right, so my no spend / maker's year, that's a big boundary. 12-step program for over shoppers. If anyone's amazed that I'm talking about this on YouTube, join the club. And I need to learn how to trust myself. Change happens when the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain and discomfort of the unknown. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your pain? I would say a 10. I would say a 10 by now. What tweaks can you start making to your own stories and beliefs in order to stop being weighed down and suppressed by them in your life? This right here, learn how to trust myself. In a species as language dependent as humans are, words have power. There's a reason it's called spelling. Our stories can save us or they can destroy us. Always remember that you are the author of your own story. Transformations don't happen overnight, but given enough time and pressure, even a lump of coal can turn into a diamond. Alrighty, so we've got the fuck it list. You've heard of the bucket list? Now make way for the fuck it list. What bullshit can you banish in order to protect your most precious resources, time and attention, and also energy too? I'm gonna write that. We are going to put buying stupid shit, and we are going to put not trusting myself, needing validation, being too scared to post art online, planner websites, clearance sales, credit cards, trauma, burning myself out. Okay, that's great. Lower your bar.